I'll start again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another session from the Old Wise Asylum. They've only got to unleash the second dose. Oh my god, it's GG's all over the shop. Have you seen what they've gone and done yesterday? What do you think of that? I mean, you know, we knew it were coming. I've said all along, Ukraine is just a gig to militarise Russia, get it in the game, militarise all our nations, get everybody on a war footing. But more importantly, to annihilate the biggest breadbasket in Europe. Same in sync with what they're doing in Holland over there, another breadbasket, attacking the food. So that's what that's about. But more importantly, it's militarising nations, getting everybody on a war footing. Because they need to start getting rid of some more folks. They've not had enough. They've not got rid enough of you. There's more to be done, and you're not doing it properly. You've stopped doing the thing, so they need a new thing. In fact, they've got lots of new things going on. They've got diversions galore. We had Brand all over the show last week. This week, it's Holly and the fat lord ass that probably couldn't get out of bed, who's threatening to kidnap her and eat her. So she shit herself, everybody's going to be... So the saga with Ollie and that other idiot, that Schofield geezer, I mean, come on, can you not see that this is just diversions? And another bedbugs. Shit yourself now, bedbugs everywhere. They're coming to the French bedbugs. I'm not so sure whether the bedbugs know the French or not. And they need a passport. But, lo and behold, you now have to all shite yourself about bedbugs. They'll probably be trying to sell you some gaseous poison now to say, well, this is just perfect, gas the whole house with it, and you'll be rocking and rolling. So there's diversions everywhere. Every single place you can look, there's a diversion going on. And if it tickles your fancy, you're going to be off on it, aren't you? Slapping it up and screwing the living daylights out to yourself, your flea bags, and your dogs and your cats. So lots and lots and lots going down everywhere. But the second dose, as we've discussed, has been launched, has it not? War has been declared by the net and the Yahoo. It's war. It's war now. There's no mucking about. This is war. Yanks have sent off a fleet over there to the Med to give them a lift. Obviously, the Zionists over here in old UK are going apeshit about it, talking absolute bollocks. All over Twitter, all over Facebook, and any other platform that they've got their bots set up to terrorise you with. Just painting the picture as they do, as they did after 9/11. There's only one story, and it's the one you're getting out of every orifice of the media, the politicians, and of course, all the platforms. Interesting, though it is. But Twitter, I have to say, give him his due. There's a hell of a lot of good data coming out off the old Twitter. For what's been emitted, let's say, from La La Land and all that goes with it. So, anyway, we're off. Peace is going to be removed from the earth, remember. That's the second dose's job. And we've already got fruit bats all over London. Yeah. And then you've got, so there's been somebody on Twitter, she's on an MBE. This lass giving it the big, look what they're doing on our streets, blah, blah, blah. So obviously I've badgered her a little bit this week and just pointed out, well, since yesterday, pointing out the fact that, well, darling, you're a member of the very club that opened the floodgates in order you can scream and shout about it now like you're concerned. Zero response, of course they don't like it. And even though it's been said that Twitter has stopped people from actually blocking people from going, certainly not the case, I don't think, on some particular avenues and outlets coming out of the old Crown Department. So that's been good fun yesterday and today. I've had some crack on there, just reminding folks of certain things that they obviously don't want you to know, if they know themselves, because of course being an hoity-toity, even an MBE, OBE, whatever, doesn't actually mean you're a smart ass. It means you're a fruitcake. It means you will do anything to suck the shit out of the ass of those you think are superior, so you can spit down on those you believe are inferior. So it's a jolly old train, and there's a lot of people who like that kind of stuff, but I'm pretty sure guys that watch this, they're not in that frame of mind, so we can laugh at them as it deserves, because it's so infantile. But it's got big teeth, because the infants did escape from the playpen at some point and managed to secure all the weapons, all the politics, all the money, all the media, and everything else into their own lap. And then back into the playpen they went. It's like just it's ludicrous, isn't it? You know, so that's why I don't bother with all that malarkey, because as a grown-up, I find it very difficult to listen to the infants crying, moaning, screaming, shouting, telling big fibs and porkies, and expecting you out there to suck it up. Well, of course, there's a lot of people that do suck it up, but generally they're not the people that have ever visited the Wise Asylum, where you are treated without any need for medication. So, without further ado, let's have a look at who's on, and then we'll crack on. However, we're only going to briefly touch this second horse, because we know the crack, don't we? We know what's going on, we know why it's going on, who's behind it, and what they aim to achieve with it. But there are some omissions that are deliberate, of course, and so if you're in La La Land and only taking from La La Land, you are going to miss some exceptionally important data which would help you see right through the whole shenanigans. Not to say for a second that people are dying, that's disgusting, but we're not taking sides, because we know the game from an eye point of view, and we know that it's just a script that's been activated for those that are involved in the script, because they can't raise themselves above it. So we're not taking sides. There's no bad guys, no good guys. The only winners in things like this are death. Death's always a winner. Funerals, hospitals, and the hidden hand that benefits from everything, because they were the ones dishing out the dosh, dishing out the weapons, dishing out the platforms to talk your spiel, and there you go. And of course you've got the Zelensky over there shiting himself now because something else has took over his glory, and there seems to be a much bigger and more important war going on. However, we get an insight into exactly what they've done with Ukraine, which, as I've said, was basically just to annihilate a breadbasket, take it over, militarise Russia and the European nations. But the money that's been thrust into that place, the laundering, the weaponry that's been thrust into that place, and I've discussed many times before, has basically laundered all the Black Ops money, but more importantly, put weapons in a place that can then be distributed across the entire raft of known, funded and trained terror organisations that are 1 in a million everywhere, well, sort of 10 million every square mile, as you move ever eastward towards the old end of the Mediterranean there, the place they call the old Levant. So, it's all going on, but Ukraine's playing an even bigger role than you might think. So it's going to be interesting to see how international politics is going to deal with Zelensky now after such revelations that we're going to look at. We're not going to go in crazy on this stuff because, of course, it's everywhere, but there are some omissions and I think it's important that we have a look at them. Then I want to get into some really serious stuff, and it's so serious that right now it's the only game on the table that you out there need to be aware of, because the game is closing in and it's been obfuscated, i.e. it's public, but it's not being presented as there existing, and I've not come across anybody that's spoken about this to date. But all you launchers out there, it's essential, and I mean absolutely essential, that you get to grips with this and recognise, as I've said many times, the best thing I've done for myself in these 3 years has been to start again, because there's been things that I've missed. Now, I haven't. I've put them into my arsenal, and I've gone through this whole situation, and it's paying dividends in a way that's unbelievable. So it's essential, and this hopefully will give you that impetus that you need to recognise that if you're going to carry on the path you're on, if it's not fully compass mentis with the actual territory as opposed to what the map thinks it should be, then you'll be pissing in the wind, unfortunately. So it's important, and you need to hear what's to be spoken of later. Anyway, let's have a crack here. Who's on? Who's come to visit the old Wise Asylum this evening? So Lex says, evening Sean, good evening to you. Paul Sefton says, good evening, Sean, and fellow inmates. Good evening to you, Paul. Untitled gives you the hello, Sean and all. Good evening to you. Slipknot. 1618. Alright, Sean and everyone. 1618. Oh yeah, what are you playing out with that? And then do Trev. House of CCC. Hello, people. Oh, that's my thing over it. That's why I couldn't see it. I thought there was some kind of groovy emoji on there, but it's my little thing. Good evening to you. PY says, evening all, evening Paul. Public notice, go fishing to catch fish, but catch lobster instead. You didn't boil it alive, did you? I've never ate lobster in my life for that reason. It's like, wow, it's not a good way to get. It's not a good gig, that is it. Let's be honest. Even the Chinese do that to everything, by the way. Cats. Have you seen what they do to cats? Boiling hot water, stick them in for about a minute, pull them out, and just go. Oh, fur comes off, and poor cat's half boiled and stuff. Terrible. Anyway, we'll not get into that. Turn it up a little, says. Okay, I'll turn it up. How is that? Is that a little bit better? You want to be cracking all your speakers? Now then, something I haven't checked, because I haven't needed to for quite some time, but yeah, so. Because it's unusual for me to have to turn it up in. There we go. That's why Gremlins have been in. If I turn that down slightly, that should put us back to where we were, and now it's happy. Is that good? I think it should be. Just let me know, will you, if that's good. Mew says, good evening, afternoon, morning to the congregation of the Wise Asylum. Good evening to you, Moo. Liam Tracy says, hello to you, Liam. Solver Mist, hello, buddy. Hello, Solver Mist. How are you doing, my good man? And Untitled says, will you present the National Security Act? Just behave yourself. Untitled. That's all I have to say. Michael Jr., I Sean, I everyone. You've put me off there now, Untitled. Anyway. Michael Jr. says, hi Sean and everyone. Hello to you, Michael. Solver Mist, have you ever paid an energy bill by replying with your acoustic number? So I haven't, no, personally. But you see, this is the thing, as I said, I've gone back to the beginning 3 years ago and just reckoned with the fact that I needed to start again, and that's been the most valuable thing I've done for a very long time. Because going over everything again from accumulating a few more pointers that I'd missed, I'm now understanding the territory as opposed to trying to enforce my map or my idea of how it should be. And it's paying dividends in my comprehension of things. So I wouldn't say that's the way you would be wanting to look at the game. So there's a lot of back doors, let's say. A lot of back doors. But they get closed down. So you're ultimately looking for the way that it can't be, because you've put it into checkmate. You've understood the gig completely. They understand you understand the gig completely. And then you want to be moving into private relationship with the state, acting as a trustee. Now, if you understand what I've just said to you there, you fully understand why people that you've held open just disappear, because they've achieved it. And of course, what is then a private matter can't be being blazoned across the internet, can it? Do you understand what I mean there? And so that's basically what's happening, and it's because they've done it correctly. Now, I know through the secret societies there's another lesser method of putting you in a back door, but again, you're subject to the whims and willies, and if you're not playing along, they're going to knock you off. It's not what you want, because you're claiming your dominion rights of Genesis 1. So there's 3 jurisdictions: equity, common law, ecclesiastical. And honestly, yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways, like I said, but it's not the way that I want to move. You've got Chris Hauser, if you want to work out how you can use the birth certificate, what it actually is, and how you can use it. But you've also got to remember that when you're doing this gig, it has to be done in agreement. The other people that you're trying to deal with and organisations have to come into agreement with you. So if you were throwing wind and piss at them, and vulgarities and attitude, you're not going to get anybody to actually agree, are you? Then you've got to play clever and do all sorts of things, which we'll not go into. But what I'm saying is, this isn't a path that you need to be like. You're not doing a war as such. You're coming in on the chessboard with the correct method. You've understood the gig. You're showing them that you understand the gig. But the most important of all, to proceed from that point, has to be private. Between you and you alone, no groups, no gangs. Yeah? Cannot be done. It's a personal, private agreement that you're moving to achieve with the state in relation to how the trust is supposed to be set. Alright? So that's your bringing life, coming back to life, the dead entity still exists. And you need it to exist because you want to be using it in the correct manner so that you're not the liable side, you are the beneficial side. And that's all I'll say on that for now, because we could go on forever. But honestly, as I've said, if you've watched my videos for the last 3 years, you'll see that as I've learned things, that what I've presented to you has changed. If you've seen that at certain points I hadn't fully understood it, and you were correct to see that, you can also now see that that's shifted also. And as I've said, the important point was it, not because I started to believe anybody, but because I stopped, went back to the beginning, and picked up those tools, those prizes, as we are in this game, that are required in order to fully understand and comprehend the complexity of the issue. Then I'm using the right verbiage, because it's so important you understand that the jurisdiction is chosen by the language that you are using. So you don't want to be using common law and ecclesiastical per se when you're dealing with the equity side. Your declaration might want to include that. But the guts of what it is in agreement you're going to come to with the state, that's not the verbiage you want. So again, that I had to learn. Very important. So that it meant I had to learn the differences between the jurisdictions. Because the language is choosing. And I have said that for a long time, so you are aware of that. However, we can't keep going on with that because we really do have to get into some important things tonight. Australia. And then we're going to get just a little look at this second dose release and what it actually means and what's actually being omitted in the narrative. But we're not going to dwell on it, and we're not picking sides either way. War's been declared. There's going to be death. There's going to be murder, rape, everything that goes with it, because it's game on, innit? So I'm not batting for one or another, because the two combatant sides, the sides that have agreed to do this. So it's not murder, it's combat, Now, if you're hitting kids and innocents, then that's murder. And that's for both sides to be aware of. And I'm not going to get into this one's doing it more than the other kind of malarkey. Because I've studied the Hamas, I've studied Hezbollah, I've studied the Taliban, Mujahideen before those, ISIS, ISIL, all these organisations. And I know where they're funded from. I know what recruits them. So it would be ridiculous for me to take a side. It can't happen. Absolutely not. Because all that's happening here is people that have that mindset have been recruited, pulled in, armed, financed, and away they go. And Ukraine has been a major operation for putting huge amounts of weaponry into their hands, because once it goes to Ukraine, everybody stops. It's there in Ukraine. No. Anyway. So, where were we there? So, got earpods in. This is public notice. Have you ever... a bit more. A bit more. So, just let me know if you need a little bit more. That should be quite loud, actually. Unless I've turned it just a tad further down than I should with there. So I've turned it up a little bit more. Now it's putting me at red, you see. I don't want to be blitzing your televisions or your phones even. Right, so Solomon says, thank you. Pulpino says, Fishermen say put lobster in freezer alive for 1 hour. Right. The way that plays out, it's just not something I want to be a part of. I don't want to take on board the energies and frequencies that food has had to, So, yeah, however, but for me, once I knew that that's what happened to him, because I'd never had it up to then anyway, I knew I'd never have lobster. So, Mrs., I'm learning a lot from you. You're welcome, and I'm glad you are. And anybody that pays attention and puts a bit of effort in, you will learn things you wouldn't believe, So, you're welcome, Solver Miss. Public note says acquiescence. Absolutely. But, you see, ignorance of the law isn't an excuse. No knowledge of. Now, if you use that terminology, I had no knowledge of that. It's a different ball game. Okay? You can't be busted for something you'd no knowledge of. So keep that in mind as well. Solver Miss. So not fighting with them is smart. Look, you've got all these immigrants over here. You've got Hindus attacking Muslims, attacking Sikhs, vice versa. You've got Arab clans and tribes attacking each other all over the show. Them people will attract themselves to each other. Let them get on with it. It's the police's job, is it not, to deal with that stuff, not yours. However, the English males, we're going to have to start to reckon with the fact that this could go silly. And we have to be prepared to help our system, if need be. So we're going to have to start waking up. Remember, you're a male. You're a male for a reason, okay? You might have failed in your marriage. But you're not going to fail in recognising that you have a job to do because it's been brought upon you. You don't have a choice. Yeah, soldiers, listen. Look what's happening. Soldiers are off. Kosovo. The red machine has been sent over to Kosovo. That's a red machine gone. To your intents and purposes in Kosovo. You have no idea what they're being used for in back end over there in the Middle East. To the public's eye, they're in Kosovo. End of story. Bullshit. With a capital B. Okay? They're moving our boys out. They've imported all these soldiers in. The police are up in the game on antisocial garbage, as they call it. They're moving. The jackboot is coming, and they're going to use all these soldiers to do it. Because our boys are going to be off everywhere except here. If you're a soldier, this is your choice. Are you going to go out there and fight for Bill Gates, for Klaus Schwab, for a fake king, for a fake church, for a fake bunch of families you've never even heard of that are benefiting from everything that you do? Or are you going to realise that here's where you're needed, your wife needs you, your flea bags need you, your mother needs you, your aunties, your uncles, your grandmas and your granddads, your dogs, your cats and your ferrets are going to need you here. Not fighting off some garbage over there because they give you a uniform and a gun and say you're allowed to do that. Be a man, work it out and realise what's coming, whether we like it or not. The system's made it clear and made sure it's going to be everywhere. Okay, because they've flooded them everywhere. The battle is really between the Zionists and Islam. Not us, but Zionists pulled in the Christians, and so there is a massive amount of them here as well. So the battle has been set. It's been set up, ready. It's there. The second dose is being released right now. So, yeah, I mean, let me just go through. So not fighting with them, absolutely. No, you're not fighting with these people. If you go to start fighting with these people, they'll attack you like you've gone to war with them. They've got all the toys, they've got all the power. Don't fight. You're not fighting. It's not a fight, this. It's you establishing your rights. Yeah, that's what's happening. So you've got to learn that. And I, for 10 years, thought I knew it all off, and I went blah, 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 blah. No, I was missing key proponents of this game as a comprehension, which means no matter what I was studying, I was missing the deeper part of it. And so, yeah, don't fight them, go back to the drawing board and start from the scratch. What the fuck is a trust? What is it? What's it made up of? How do they use them? And then build back from that. And then you'll start to see all these acts that they've got set up, what they're for, how they're using them, and you then can shift the jurisdiction above them. Then they're meaningless. To you, but not to those in the state. They're under there, and they've agreed to operate under them. We're agreeing to operate under them by default of the fact we're ignorant and we've no knowledge of the facts of the matter. That's what they're hiding. Anyway. So Solomon says, I have to pick my own fights. Yeah. Everybody's got a battle. Them that have done the gig on the bug dance, are dancing to that. That's their concern. They're out the mix. You know what I mean? Stick to where you're at. Know you're on the right path. And keep solid. Because if you're solid, you're helpful for other people that need you, your family. If you're a mess, everybody's a mess. Look at it in those terms. But focus to people that matter. Don't waste your time with people that are already doomed because they're dancing to nonsense, shit tunes, and garbage. You know what I'm saying? You get me. You get my drift. And Untitled gives it the old thumbs up. Public notice, all about being correct. Precisely. Solve miss. I'm from Australia, so crack on. Well, you're up early, good man. And we've got some shenanigans I just want to reveal about what's really going on in Australia when it comes to this yes-no vote. Because it's ridiculous that I don't think they've got away with it because I think it's been outed, but basically, I mean, and we covered it actually. I put a piece up last week on my website, basically just going through Australians need to be looking at the interests. Wait a minute. At the interests of your parliament, because so I've looked at this again this week, and basically when you look at the yes vote, it's a massive amount of the politicians, but all the corporations. Now what that tells me is this is a political gig. The political class and the corporations that are running them as lobbyists are moving to pull in a massive power grab, and they're using the Aborigines statement from the heart that were created quite some years ago. But what's important is the establishment in Australia are pushing this message from the heart, as it were, as only being 1 page long, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's 26 pages long. And even in Parliament last week, they stood up and said that anybody that thought it weren't just 1 page were a conspiracy theorist. I couldn't believe what I were hearing because it's a 26-page gig. And one of your presenters on Fox News has been telling you this for at least a month. And she got attacked for it. And the reason why they don't want you to look into that is because when you start to look at what the agreement is, it would give the political class absolute, unrivaled power to change the constitution as they wish, to taxation system, and use the originals, or the natives, because I'm trying to train myself from calling them Aborigines, because they are the originals. On the back of them, the political class would basically steal everything. And in the same way that they've never really been concerned about the originals, that would just continue, but they'd be able to use it, and we're doing it for the Aborigines. So basically, and I'm not going to go crazy on it, but that's basically what's happening. It's a political class massive grab, so it's a crown grab. And these elders are concerned because it includes Uluru, which is the heart of Australia and a very sacred place to the originals. And they're saying that they've actually given it a birth certificate. Now, if you actually understand the esoteric, the heart, or Uluru, has its own spiritual essence and its own spirits and entities that look after it and emanate from it in order it can affect the ley lines, or the song lines as they call them, with its influence. Now, because of this agreement, because these guys are saying that this agreement actually is something really bad and they didn't realise it, but it needs to be understood. Because in giving it and incorporating it into commerce, all the aggregore that would come around this system that's been going on for thousands of years, is now able to intrude on the esoteric spiritual realm of the rock itself, Uluru. So in incorporating it into this paper system, the aggregore, the spirits and entities that have built this system over the millennia, are now able to intrude into the spiritual side of the rock and thus gain influence and access to the sun lines. Now, this image, you can't really see it, and I can't read it properly to read it, which is unfortunate. But I'm going to add it to the page that I wrote last week, and also there's this video. See, we can't use YouTube videos on here because it just crashes the computer and freezes. But it's only a very short 1 minute 11, and these are the guys you need to listen to, not these half-cast ones that are running around fronting for the politics side of things. Australians need to understand it from the heart of Australia. You need to vote no to this without even understanding it. Just understand that it's a terrible thing for the Australian people. It's a terrible thing for the originals, and it'll be a terrible thing for Australia as a landmass in its entirety. You really need to consider voting no with the full understanding that if you put a bit of study in after, you will soon understand why you voted no. A bit like Brexit. Lots of people didn't really understand what it were, and were asking people like me what would so I would give them a brief and say I would vote no. And so that's a lot of, I can see that going on here, a bit like the Brexit thing. People didn't expect it to go on. It did. I think the same thing is going to happen here, and you are saving yourself a whole load of trouble because its timing is perfect in relation to the diversions they've got you on now with all that's going on in the world. And so this is a big, long, pre-planned gig, and it's a power grab. And a huge power grab going on here on Blighty, which is what we're going to get into down the line here. Same thing, huge power grab. They don't want you to see it. They don't want you to know what's going on. And I've always said we need to come out of Europe, and I've said, it is the EC, European Court on Human Rights, data that they're using in order to flood us with the immigrants, but then that's not necessarily the case either. The Crown's allowing this, okay? Now, what they're moving to now is they need to get rid of ECHR in order to move this next phase. So I'm now saying we need to reconsider what's going to happen the minute, if they're successful, because nobody's upholding the English Bill of Rights anymore. The only other bunch of nonsense you've got is the 98 one, which pretty much loopholes for this new thing that they've got going on. So that's what I wanted to talk about in relation to Australia. You really need to know what's going on. The political class, the Crown, the corporations will give them unlimited power to change your constitution with your consent, because you're going to consent to this. So remember, they need consent to change constitutions, yeah? They've already got it here in Blighty in the sense that the English, the Scottish, the Welsh, you dumbass, they haven't got a clue, they're ass from their elbow, and that's why it just rolls on and on and on here on Blighty. So that's Australia. I'll put links up, of course, again underneath, so if you want to just expand this. But that's a very important video that needs to be seen, in my opinion. Now, look at that. Diversions. I mean, is that... A picture speaks 1,000 words, does it not? Does it not? If you're following La La Land, you're just being bumped from one diversion to another. They haven't stopped using all the fakery, the acting for, look, they're kidnapping this, kidnapping that. I don't know what's going on over there at the moment. But remember that this is what they do, and they're expert at it. And it works more importantly. It bloody works. So, this is what I want to look at. Just a reminder. So this is the 3 World War strategy from in a letter from Albert Pike to Mazzini, who was the leader of the mafia back in 1871. And he presents a 3 World War strategy in order they can take over the world. Now, First World War, Second World War is gone. First World War was for the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the Tsars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the age of the Illuminati between the British and the Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of this war, communism will be built and used to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. And of course, Queen Victoria's offspring were running Germany. They were the monarchs of Europe, remember, so it were a blag, but it worked. All our lads got snotted. And we got an influx of the pogrom Ashkenazi and took over the lodges. Edward VII was the architect and also the main purveyor of it. Even though he didn't live to see it, he was the man that set the scene. He was also the man in charge of Kitchener, who actually changed the mandate of Freemasonry in order that Freemasonry ceased to serve England and then serve the then coming Israel. Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the difference between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that political Zionism is strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would then be restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. Well, it's been Zionized, has it not? Vatican II has Zionized the Vatican. That's another achievement. Now, the Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. This war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on the issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual and economic exhaustion. And that's of course because the fight's going to go on our land, upon Europe's land. Okay, not so much an American land problem. They're going to be dealing with the Southern Americans and Mexicans. But of course, being an arm of Israel, they're going to be out. The soldiers are going to be out the country. Same gig as what's going on here. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists and shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all horror will show clearly to the nations the effects of absolute atheism, because this is when they're getting ready for their great king that religion calls the Antichrist. So this comes after, but of course in Ukraine getting control of the breadbasket, and the same in Holland, and the same with shipping, has been the means to be able to unleash the nihilists and atheists for the social cataclysm coming once this war gets going. So we can see that. It says here, so they can see that absolute atheism is the origin of savagery and of the most bloody turmoil. The multitude disillusioned with Christianity will receive the true light through the universal Jesuit Vatican II system. I've added that. Manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer brought finally out into the public view. Externalization of the hierarchy by Blavatsky. This will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So that suggests that Christianity is going to be the victorious bunch out of this second horse gig, but then it's going to be confronted with atheism. Both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So there's your backdrop to what's going on now. It's the second horse if we're looking for a biblical reference. But just take a look at what's going on here, because we've got British in first to secure peace for Kosovo. Right, so everybody's they're leading our troops out because they want to utilise these soldiers they've brought in. They're not immigrants, yeah? They're contracted with the government. Some say 5 years, some say 2 years. It's not absolutely clear. It says, show force, returning refugees to be protected by 50,000 troops. The biggest peacekeeping operation in history involving 30 countries and 50,000 troops gets underway in Kosovo today, led by the British mine clearance specialist, who will be the first to cross the frontier, while the Red Machine and the Gurkhas leapfrog ahead by helicopter to seize the first open ground beyond the border. Okay? Yeah, that's what we're told, but they're all going to be doing special ops and black ops over there in the Middle East. British paratroopers were poised to enter Kosovo last night, and this were on Friday the 11th of June. Wait a minute, I've picked up a wrong one here. Oh! Right, I picked up a wrong one, but this is exactly what's going on right now. Our boys are being sent over to Kosovo. See, I had two up, and I've put wrong one up. So, but that's what's going on. They're moving our boys now, our soldiers, out and into Kosovo. That's the excuse, because the Serbs have started massing on the borders, etc., because they're a little bit peeved. So there's wars coming on all fronts here now. You've got Taiwan, you've got Ukraine, you've got the Middle East, you've got North Korea, you've got the North Sea also. So all this crap's going on, and World War III fears soar as Vladimir Putin makes a terrifying nuclear move that leaves the US disturbed. Russia plans to reverse its ratification of the 1996 treaty that banned the testing of nuclear weapons. World War III fears have exploded after the US was left disturbed by Russia's plan to reverse its ratification of a 1996 treaty that banned the testing of nuclear weapons. Mikhail Ulanov, the country's envoy to the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, CTBTO, has said Russia will revoke its ratification of the pact. This came hours after Vladimir Putin hinted Russia could make a terrifying return to nuclear weapons testing and possibly withdraw its ratification of the landmark treaty. So all sorts coming out, it's prompting everything, it's putting more cards on the table to terrify everybody to death. You've got Russian generals speaking, specifically stating that they want to bomb the cause of all this, and that would be the UK. Now, you know, we know the warmongers do have, they live in Scotland. So I can't argue at that point that he's saying they've accused it of being the cause, and they are calling for wiping it out. End of story is what they're basically saying. So, you know, you can see that these fruit bats down in Chalkir, Westminster, they're not very bright, are they? They're not very bright, and again, it shows them that they're not their own men, whether they're male or female. They're doing exactly what they're told by them way above it. Yeah, you see, with that Monarchy, it's a load of garbage. It's absolute and utter shit, but it's a game that's real because it's got actors that are prepared to get involved and make it so. What are you guys saying? If you're watching from the beginning, it gets louder. That's okay. Audio is fine here. Stop it. Okay. Volume fine. Good. I'll vote in the election. I actually got fined 600 for not voting at the last election. Did you really? My God, they're fining you for not voting. Jesus. All his spokes, yes indeed. All his spokes to bring in the digital age. Well, exactly. These are all your diversions to stop you focusing on what you need to focus to. And we know what needs to be focused to. But again, they're not having it all their own way. They've upped this game quick. Not so much the military side, but the enforcement of what we're going to discuss in a moment. Because they didn't get their own way everywhere. Or let's just say, those that attended these meetings this year, G20, WEF, Davos, all these different meetings that they have Bilderberg, the atmosphere wasn't the let's suck the shit out of Klaus's ass because we love him. It was the lot, whoa, you know what I'm saying? So we have to capitalise on that, i.e. get the data out. Now, none of this is private, it's all public data. Now then, where are we? Let me look here. So, buried in the bill, this is Canada 47, that received royal assent. Its King's official title, Charles III, by the grace of God, King of Canada and other realms and territories, head of government Commonwealth. And it says, why is there no comma after God? Right? Now that's interesting because you can see that it's very well grammared, that piece. So it's deliberate that they've left the comma out between God and King. So we'll read that little bit again. Because there's some other stuff coming out as well. That Charles is actually a spitting image of a female relative that was born 150 years ago, but was alive, obviously, when Charles was born. And if you're not savvy with how they do the breeding programs, then we'll not get into that. But that is a canny resemblance, is it not? It's more so than him and his mother, because he doesn't look anything like his mother. And it was Victoria Mountbatten, Marchioness of Milford Haven, Victoria of Hesse. And this is another interesting bit about, if you look at the old data, it actually says all lies. when they're pumping out the data for First World War. It's there for you to see all lies. Can you see this? They obviously didn't know this kind of stuff back then, but here it says, Charles III, by the grace of God King of Canada. So who's the God King of Canada? And his other realms and territories? Or is he the God King of Canada? Because, and I've done this often in the years, I can't see how he looks like him. The ears, the nose, chin, but I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I've always thought I can't see Philip in Charles. And also, I can't see his mother in Charles. So that might be a bit of a bit of a dig if you're interested in that kind of stuff. And obviously I'll put the report up under in the video later. But interesting. Just I thought it might be worth looking at, because we need to know who this character is. Who is this character? Who does he serve and what's he up to? Which we're going to have a look at shortly, because he's up to no good. So before we kick off with that, I'd like to just put this forward, because if you're a Protestant and a staunch Protestant, this is the kind of stuff you need to get in your mind. You need to get it in your mind rapid. The word human and the phrase human being do not appear anywhere in the authorized King James Version of the Bible. Okay? That's the Protestant Bible. So the word human and human being isn't found anywhere in the Bible that our systems were built on. Okay? We're not getting in the ins and outs of the King James blah blah, and just saying it isn't found in there. There is no speak at all of a human. Okay? So the Bible is not about humans or human beings. Let's get that fact. I've discussed many times. Hue in etymology is, you could break it down as to a shade of, and it's to do with colour. So hue man is a shade of man. Man is found in the Bible, and so is person. Okay, so they are found in the King James, but human isn't. Now let's get to the important stuff, because it is important. In the New Revised Standard Version, NRSV, of the Bible, which can be found in cathedrals, ministries, churches, chapels throughout the land, the word human appears on 402, that's 402, occasions. And the phrase human being appears 114 times. Okay, so who's revised this shit? It's supposed to be from God and Jesus, this. What's correct? Yeah, and the old prophets. Somebody's changing it. Somebody is changing it that doesn't represent the old prophets, the Old Testament, the New Testament, at all. They're showing you. It says human colour of man is defined as monster in law dictionaries and regarded a lesser person. You see, person. So human is fixed to person, not man. So it's a secondary to person as well, a monster. Person includes a body of persons, corporate or unincorporate. 1889, Interpretation Act, 1978, Schedule 1. For comparison, Genesis 1 verse 27, so God created man in his own image. God didn't create man in his own image, so that's a load of bullshit again. Clearly these people don't understand language and they don't understand the Bible. The word God isn't spoken when you get into the Hebrew or the Greek Bible. Okay, it's Elohim and it's plural. So that again, man in his own image, in the image of God created he them. He didn't say God. Remember that. Male and female created he them. So man is descriptive of both male and female. It's not a description of the male alone. It's the garden, Genesis 2, that changes that. We've gone through all that. We don't need to go through it again. But if you're chasing dominion, you have to understand it in those terms, as you will never achieve it. You will always be within the ecclesiastical. Okay? And subject to the ecclesiastical. The ecclesiastical is moving into the Noahide system. Remember that. So on your head be it as to whether you want to procrastinate and hold on to your map, or you want to get serious, start again and recognise that you don't even understand your own language. How could you possibly understand the law? The statutes? You couldn't. It's impossible. Get that in your mind. So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God he created them, male and female, he created them. So they've completely changed it in the NRSV version. Right? Where are we here? Now, the New Bible, which is used in the coronation of ceremony of King Charles III at Westminster Abbey in London on May the 6th. It's special. Yeah, damn right it is. The monarch will rest his hand on the book edited by academic Professor Gordon Campbell from Leicester while reciting the oath. There he is. There's his big fat fingers. There's the funny creature that's running the Church of England. And there's this new Bible, 2023. So it's even newer. Right? That's what he's taken his oath to. And we don't know what's in it. Right? We do not know what is in there. We cannot give him sovereignty. If you're a grown-up. If you're an infant and stupid, caught on. But if you're a grown male or female, you cannot accept that. You cannot give this monarch, because he isn't a monarch. He might be a king, but he's not your king. He's not a king of these isles. He's a king in the Scottish Rite only. Now, that's that. Now, before we move to this, I'm going to just put on notice and say no persons of any description have taken part in this making of this video. Only flesh and blood male. No persons at all. So here we go, folks. Whew. Now you should be able to see the National Security Act 2023. Can you see that? I'll come back to you to check that you can see this. Can you see and read this exactly as it is? So I need a yeah or a not. Charles is a rant and was seeded, says Louise. A runt, sorry, rather. Yeah, I'd say he was seeded, and I thought it were interesting finding that he does look like that lass, whoever it was. So can you see that? Excellent. Right. So we'll sit back, guys, and be ready to get a few chills down that spine of yours, because that's exactly what it did to me. An act. It says National Security Act 2023, Chapter 32. That breaks down to 5. Okay, it's a very important number, and that brings you to 7 with the 7 there. No, brings you to 12, my apologies. So the 7 and the 5 brings us to 3. An act to make provision about threats to national security from espionage, sabotage, and persons acting for foreign powers. Keep in mind this SQV trust is classed as foreign power, which is why it's taxed. Do you understand that? Okay, and it's about the extraterritorial application of Part 2 of the Serious Crime Act 2007 for the registration of certain arrangements with and activities of specified persons and foreign powers, about the award of damages and proceedings relating to national security and the payment of damages at risk of being used for the purpose of terrorism, about the availability of legal aid to persons connected with terrorism, to amend the Terrorism Act 2000, and for connected purposes. Now, this was pulled together 11th July 2023. Okay, it were active. So that's only a month or so after his ascension in his own little world. Okay. Key phrases to think and remember is persons acting for foreign powers. It's carte blanche. They can do what the fuck they want with any single one of you at their whim. Foreign soldiers carrying it out. Are you digging? be it enacted by the King's most excellent Majesty by and with the advice and consent of the Lords spiritual and temporal. So those at Chalker, Westminster, and the hoity-toits in the Lords have given it the big yay. In this present Parliament assembled and by the authority of the same as follows. Part 1. Obtaining or disclosing protected information. Okay? Now, who's deciding what's protected? Well, they are, of course. Persons acting for foreign powers. Sesquiv Trust. Can you see? And they're deciding what's protected. A person commits an offence if the person obtains, copies, records or retains protected information, or discloses or provides access to protected information. Okay? So straight away you think, oh, that's whistleblowers. Yes, it certainly is. And this you would expect to find in the Official Secrets Act to those that have signed it. But no. Persons acting for foreign powers. Get that in your mind. The person's conduct is for a purpose that they know or having regard to other matters known to them or reasonably to know is prejudicial to the safety or interests of the United Kingdom. Okay? Third point of import. This is persons, foreign, and it relates specifically to the United Kingdom. No mention of England, no mention of Scotland, no mention of Wales, Northern Ireland. The United Kingdom. And the foreign power condition is met in relation to the person's conduct. See section 31. In this section, protected information means any information, document or other article where, for the purpose of protecting the safety or interests of the United Kingdom, access to the information, document or other article is restricted in any way, or it is reasonable to expect that access to the information, document or other article would be restricted in any way. It's reasonable to expect. Who's deciding that? Subsection 1 applies whether the person's conduct takes place in the United Kingdom or elsewhere. So if you're still on Sesquiv as a foreign power, it can be in America. In this game, if they have an agreement with that country, they'll be brought right back. A person who commits an offence under this section is liable on conviction on indictment to imprisonment for life or a fine or both. Okay? Liable on conviction on indictment to imprisonment for life or a fine or both. Okay? This is going to... Whistleblowers, I think we've seen an end to that. Right? If they get this going. It's in, but they're not activating it. Why? My guess, European Court on Human Rights. So although on the one hand it's brought all these immigrants in, now you're all fed up with that. You're all going to want it going because you believe that'll change things. It won't change a thing. Alright? It won't change a thing. But get rid of that. Human rights, remember? Yeah, Bill of Rights is what you want to be looking at. Nothing to do with human, because as we've just looked at, human isn't in the biblical text. It is in the Noahide text. Okay? For the purposes of this section, a person retains protected information if the person retains it in their possession or under their control. I'm just checking you're still there. It went quiet. Disclosure includes parting with possession. Obtaining or disclosing trade secrets. A person commits an offence if the person obtains copies. A person commits an offence if the person obtains, copies, records or retains a trade secret, or discloses or provides access to a trade secret. The person's conduct is unauthorised. The person knows or having regard to other matters known to them or reasonably to know that their conduct is unauthorised, and the foreign power condition is met in relation to the person's conduct. So if you're coming in on SQV, the condition is met as a foreign. Yeah? You dig? Can you see the word wizardry in this is stupendous? See section 31. A trade secret means any information, document, or other article which is not generally known by or available to persons with knowledge of or expertise in the field to which it relates. Oh dear. Whether or not it's actually subject to such measures. It could reasonably be expected to be subject to measures to prevent it becoming generally known by or available to such persons. Whether or not it is actually subject to such measures. They make it up as they go along, in other words. A person's conduct is unauthorised if the person is not entitled to determine whether they may engage in the conduct. So if you haven't got a clue what crack is, you're then classed as not authorised. Alright? Oh, this is just word wizardry. It's supreme example. I can't believe that. It's just outrageous. A UK person means a United Kingdom national, an individual who lives in the United Kingdom, a body incorporated under the law of a part of the United Kingdom, an unincorporated association formed under the law of a part of the United Kingdom. Did you dig that? So that's everybody, because you're all on this SQV. And the United Kingdom national is an individual who is a British citizen. So there we go. It expands it now. British. British. Not English, not Scottish, not Welsh, not Northern Irish. British. Again, fixes you. If you're just that little bit old school, but you're still thick, they've got you. Alright? A British overseas territories citizen. So if you live any territory like United States, Canada, Australia or New Zealand, and you living in a place that's classed as a territory, that's you. You're then classed as a United Kingdom national, a British citizen. You dig it? A person under the British Nationality Act 1981 is a British subject or a British protected person within the meaning of the Act. A person who commits an offence under this section is liable on conviction on indictment to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 14 years, or a fine, or both. For the purpose of this section, a person retains a trade secret if they retain it in their possession or under their control. Disclosure includes parting with possession. Now, you see, no knowledge of is the only defence you could have if you've gone in there on the SQV. It says commencement information, S2 not enforced royal assent. Assisting foreign intelligence service. Person commits an offence if a person engages in conduct of any kind and intends that conduct to materially assist foreign intelligence service in carrying out UK related activities. And this is all fine, as you'd expect if you're an official working in the system and you took the Official Secrets Act. You would expect that, wouldn't you? It's standard, but no. You can see the wizardry as it's moved it onto everybody, because you're all on this SQV. I mean, conduct might assist foreign intelligence materially. I mean, they just invent it, you get it? UK-related activities means activities taking place in the United Kingdom, activities taking place outside the United Kingdom, which is prejudicial to the safety or interests of the United Kingdom. Shit, man. Oh dear. Subsection 1 and 2 apply to conduct outside the United Kingdom, but apply to conduct taking place only outside the United Kingdom if only if the person engaging in the conduct is a UK person or acts for or on behalf of or holds office under the Crown or is in Crown employment, whether or not they engage in the conduct in that capacity. So we now got Crown. So now we're seeing what it means. British, United Kingdom and Crown. No England, no Scotland, no Wales, no Northern Ireland. Because it's not about nations. It's about nicking your estates, which makes up the nations. In proceedings for an offence under this section, it is defence to show that the person engaged in the conduct in question in compliance with the legal obligation under the law of the United Kingdom. So if you were claiming you were using it to stop terrorism, you would invoke the Terrorism Act. Yeah, so now that would be a loophole on that, which is not legal obligation under private law. So now we've got private laws separate. Can you see? In the case of a person having functions of a public nature under the law of the United Kingdom for the purposes of those functions, as a lawyer carrying on legal activity. This is why you can't go to lawyers. This is what they're held to. Or in accordance with or in relation to UK-related activities carried out in accordance with an agreement or arrangement to which the United Kingdom was a party, or any person acting for or on behalf of or holding office under the Crown was in that capacity a party. So you've got to be careful who you're working for as well. A person is taken to have shown a matter mentioned in subsection 7 if sufficient evidence of the matter is adduced to raise an issue with respect to it and the contrary is not proved beyond reasonable doubt. So, yeah, terrorism. If you were doing something because you can show it's an act of terrorism, there's a get-out clause. The person who commits... Because remember, when you read these acts, there's the ways are out in it for them that are in. There's always a way out. There's always a remedy within these systems. But when you don't understand the language correctly, and you've not gone back and started again to pull those weapons in... Not weapons, those tools that you need in, so that you've got everything you need for the paradigm in which you're studying, yeah, you're not going to see the remedies in them. So I'm trying to give you them as well, so you know how to apply yourself. Crown employment means employment under for the purposes of a government department, or any officer or body exercising on behalf of the Crown functions conferred by an enactment. Financial benefit means money or money's worth. You're all on the fucking dole. You're all on fucking working credit or whatever the fuck it's called. You're picking something up from the state. You're getting a financial benefit. Can you dig? Right? Oh, dear me. Entering a prohibited place for the purpose prejudicial to the UK. So this is how they're nicking all the public buildings. Town halls, theatres, yeah? Any big building that's owned by your council. Yeah, you see this? Parliament's classed as UK, the monarch's classed as UK, so that's everything that they hold in. The very naughty Lord Lieutenants have dragged your shires in, which is why they're in control of the magistrates, because that's UK. It's not English law, it's not Scottish law, it's not Roman law. It's UK bollocks. Yeah? So a person commits an offence if the person accesses, enters, inspects, passes over or under, approaches or is in the vicinity of a prohibited place, or causes an unmanned vehicle or device to access, enter, inspect, pass over or under. So they're changing now the drone language, can you see? So you see now why they're grabbing all the public buildings into trusts under their wing. They fucked them up 12 years ago, made them all damp. Current tenants were all on an agreement to uphold the buildings, knowing full well that the works the councils have done were going to show this problem of damp, rising damp, all these problems that they're having because they stopped the airflow under the wood floors, is that method, and they're pulling them in now. Football teams are buying, nicking land as trusts, the council is spending money on it, turning it into some use. That satisfies the land registry's claim for use of the land. Yeah, this is how they're playing it, people. But now they're changing, this act changes everything. So you auditors, you're going to be in trouble if it's designated as a public building. So that's your police stations, you know, your council chambers, your town halls, anything that's associated with anything that's operating for the Crown. So that's all these trusts. So Accrington Stanley football team is a trust. It's nicking land, claiming it, got you all baying, you know, sucking shit out of his ass because you're insane and you love football more than you love your children, your wife and your nation. So it's on you, but they're changing the game because these buildings can now be classed as under the Crown within the UK. You get it? So again, I'm going to put, so I've put these up on my website. I will put the links to them underneath, and they're all, well, the blue highlight won't be in, but the yellow ones will. So, and again, unauthorised entry, you know, it's all there. They're changing the whole game, this. Powers of police, in relation to prohibited place. The constable may order a person not to engage. Now, they've used the term constable. So again, we're looking at the way that they put remedies in, okay? Because these guys, officers, are they not, if you don't make them identify on their oath. So there you go, you see, this is how they put the remedies in for those that know the crack. A constable may order a person not to engage or to cease to engage in conduct mentioned in section 4.1 and A, whether in person, by electronic or remote means, in relation to a prohibited place. Alright? So they're giving them more and more powers. But that's the key. Term constable. A constable may arrange for removal of a vehicle or device from a prohibited place or an area adjacent to a prohibited place. Because they've got the roads. Remember, the roads belong to the UK, not the highway. Excuse me. The constable may not exercise the power under subsection 1 or 2 unless the constable reasonably believes that exercising the power is necessary to protect the safety or interests of the United Kingdom. But you see, a constable has no relevance to the United Kingdom. A person commits an offence if the person fails to comply with an order imposed under subsection 1. A person, because you're employed, aren't you? You're getting money. That's you. Okay? You can cry your eyeballs out, kick the fence, blah, blah, blah. They'll beat the shit out of you, because that's what they're doing now. That's the key. Again, it's all person. And on the SESQV, you're automatically a foreign entity. Oh dear me. Right, so we're not going to go into that because this is the part that you really need to grasp, people. I think. No, sabotage. The person commits an offence if the person engages in conduct that results in damage to any asset. The person intends their conduct to result in damage to an asset or is reckless as to whether their conduct will result in damage to an asset. The person's conduct is for a purpose that they know or have in regard to other matters known to them ought reasonably to know as prejudicial to the safety of interest of the United Kingdom, and the foreign power condition is met in relation to the person's conduct, section 31. So if you Muslims are thinking of getting cracking on, you're going to be fucked. They'll have you. They'll have you. And it's going to be not going to be soldiers that have been involved in any of these wars that have been going on since 9/11. These are going to be fresh over from Kazakhstan, Turkey. You know what I'm saying? So if you think you're going to get away off scot-free, I don't think so, lads. Let's have a look. Asset means an asset of any kind, whether tangible or intangible. A SQV trust is an intangible asset, okay? And so, if, you know, they can say, oh, you're upsetting that person over there, they belong to us, bang. Do you know what I'm saying? This is carte blanche power. Like in Australia, they're going for a power grab, political class. This is another one here. And every nation will have its own version. So be aware, people. Includes in particular real and personal property, electronic systems and information. So electronic systems, that's all your ELEDs cameras, all this transmitting technology. Damage includes any of the following, whether permanent or temporary. Destruction, alteration, that's a clever one. Contamination, interference, loss or reduction in access or availability, loss of or reduction in function, utility. So as soon as they use this on any of that tackle, ULEZ and anything, they're admitting that that system belongs to the United Kingdom, the Crown, the British, the fucking Empire. Okay? Nothing to do with us. It's Empire, unless you want to be a part of the Empire. Foreign interference general. Now, a person and P. Now, I'm not going to get into this meaning today, because I want you need to focus to this, but we're going to get into this P, capital P, not capital P, next week. Again, we're on etymology, but it's essential to understand these concepts if you're going to understand how you're going to revert your condition as it stands with sesc V. But I'll just give you a brief. It says a person P commits an offence if P engages in a course of conduct with one or more other persons. Notice this capital P. So it would be person not in the lowercase p, but person with the uppercase P. Okay? There's a distinction. Again, these are the remedies that they put in these acts for their all. P engages in a course of conduct with one or more of the persons. The foreign power condition is met in relation to conduct of P, which forms part of the course of conduct. So all these big groups that have got together, they're moving in sync against the system. If you're doing it on your sesc V, you're going to be classed as a foreign interference person. You get it? P intends the course of conduct of interference effect as part of the course of conduct of a person other than P engages in prohibited conduct, and P intends to or believes that as a part of the course of conduct a person other than P will engage in prohibited conduct. A person who commits offence under this section is liable on conviction, on indictment, to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 14 years, or a fine, or both. So 14 years is a big one, but life is in here, remember. What do you think they're building these prisons for, these camps? I believe there's a very FEMA camp being built and constructed here now, and or during the book script, but that's another matter. I have to investigate that because I don't know whether it's fact. It could have been a building site. Foreign interference, meaning of interference effect. For the purpose of section 13, an interference effect means any of the following. Now, it's not section 13 for nothing. It'll have import, okay, in the relation in their games. Let's see if we can suss it. Interfering with the exercise by a particular person of a convention right in the United Kingdom. Now then, you're probably not getting what's important there. That is what's important. Convention right. So interfere with anybody that they've decreed as a convention right in the United Kingdom, you're going to get your bottom smacked to death. Affecting the exercise by any person of the public functions. Okay? Public functions. That's magistrates, etc., etc., etc. Yep. Interfering with whether or how any person makes use of a service provided in the exercise of public functions. So that will mean if they wanted to do it correctly according to the state, and if that's contrary to the United Kingdom, you're being naughty. Prejudice in the safety or interests of the United Kingdom, and that's wide open, isn't it? Because what do they call safety? Masks, social distance, the whole, whatever they determine safety, and as an interest of that, on the SESQV, as a foreign, it's a done deal. 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 It's a Now then, this is the important gig. Okay, because it ties in everything I've ever gobbed off about. Now, I'm bursting for a pee. We'll carry on. I'll see if I can go a bit further. Otherwise, I might have to just go and have a tinkle. Now then. So, now then. What have I gone past it actually? In effect, maybe trees, blah, 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 blah. So, in subsection, a relevant political process means an election, a referendum, proceedings of a local authority, the proceedings of a local authority. Oh! So if you go into a council meeting and you want to speak up, you can invoke this shit. The proceedings of a UK registered political party. That's going to screw press up somewhat. Or the activities of an informal group consisting of or including members of one or both of houses of Parliament. So if you mess about with them, Northern Ireland Assembly, the Scottish Parliament, or the Synod Cymru, acting in that capacity. So look at this, they're trying to protect these little shitbags. The infants, mummy and daddy at the Crown are coming out to protect the infants from all you boys on the SESQV. In subsection 1, political decisions, which means decision of a Minister of the Crown within the meaning of the Ministers of the Crown Act 1975, or a United Kingdom Government Department. A Northern Ireland Minister, the First Minister of Northern Ireland, the Deputy First, blah 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 blah, and the Haggy Squeezers. And the Sheep Shaggers. Yeah. And Yorkshiremen. Now then, in this section, convention rights. Pay attention. Convention rights as the meaning given by Section 1 of the Human Rights Act 1998. What have we just discussed about the human? Okay, a monster. On SESQV. So whichever way you go. But they're going to use the removing of the ECU because you all think that's the cause of the immigration when really it's the UN. Okay, because that's what they signed into. They're in covenant with it. Okay? They're meaningless. Because they're going to pull up this Human Rights Act 1998. Okay? You'll have nothing. Nothing. You need Bill of Rights, people. Bill of Rights. That's why they obfuscate it. The law of the United Kingdom, which is contract law, you have to consent to be in it, includes the law of any part of the United Kingdom. Local authority means, in England, a county council. What a load of shit. IBM's running fucking Lancashire County Council through the Grosvenors. And it's now classed as a county council. A district council, a London Borough Council, a combined authority established under Section 103 of the Local Democracy, Economic Development and Construction Act 2009. A parish council. See, all of these were put in with Labour. Forget this wind and piss, it's all the Tories. You're thick as pig shit if you think that. All this were put in under the Tories haven't even got in yet. A parish council. You can't be going badgering priests or vicars neither. The Council of the Isles of Scilly. The Common Council of the City of London. The Sub-Treasurer of the Inner Temple. Now we get into the Covenant. The Common Council of the City of London. The Sub-Treasurer of the Inner Temple. The Under-Treasurer of the Middle Temple. Mary Elizabeth Windsor was a member of the Middle Temple. Okay? Now what are you seeing? In Wales, a county council, county borough council or community council. In Scotland, a council constituted under Section 2 of the Local Government Act, Scotland Act 1994. In Northern Ireland, a district council. Public functions means functions of a public nature. Exercisable in the United Kingdom or exercisable in a country or territory outside the United Kingdom. By a person acting for and on behalf of or holding office under the Crown. UK registered political party means a political party registered under Part 2 of the Political Parties, Elections and Referendums Act 2000. You're not going to stand a chance of doing anything unless you act under that. Then you're into this. You're bound by it. They're tying up politics. This is dictatorship, people. Dictatorship. Now, let me just... foreign interference meaning of prohibited conduct. Conduct is prohibited conduct for the purposes of Section 13 if it involves making a misrepresentation. Now, bear in mind as well, once you do the conversion, you're holding them to this. So then this becomes a tool for you. Okay? A misrepresentation is a representation that a reasonable person would consider to be false or misleading. Now, are you a reasonable person? No, because you're not a person. Are you? A reasonable man? Well, this doesn't carry. Yeah. Material to the interference effect, and that the person making the representation knows or intends to be false or misleading in a way material to the interference effect. So now we're looking at how you would use this for your remedy. Are you digging? A misinterpretation may be made by making a statement or by any kind of conduct and may be expressed or implied. Misrepresentation may in particular include a misrepresentation as to a person's identity or a person. That is dynamite for your toolbox. Can you dig this, people? Are you starting to realise, yeah, you need to go back. There's things you don't recognise. Or maybe this is helping you to do that. I hope so. Presenting information in a way which amounts to a misrepresentation, even if some or all of the information is true. How the fuck do you work that out? Get that again. Presenting information in a way which amounts to a misrepresentation, even if some or all of the information is true. Now, that can be used good, but it can also, it's another tool in their arsenal to just bedazzle you with nonsense. It's a powerful piece, that. Truthful. In proceedings for an offence under subsection 1 by virtue of retaining benefit. Okay? By virtue of retaining. It is a defence to show that a person had a reasonable excuse for retaining the benefit. In proceedings for an offence under subsection 1 or 2, it is a defence to show that the person engaged in the conduct in question, in compliance with a legal obligation under the law of the United Kingdom, which is not a legal obligation under private law. In the case of a person having functions of a public nature under the law of the United Kingdom for the purposes of those functions, or in accordance with an agreement or an arrangement to which the United Kingdom was a party, or any person acting for on behalf of or holding office under the Crown, holding office under the Crown was in the capacity of party. Obviously you can go through this at your own leisure. The following terms have the same meaning as in section 3. Crown employment, financial benefit, foreign intelligence service, the law of the United Kingdom, UK person. Preparatory conduct. A person commits offence if with the intention of committing acts to which this section applies or acts blah 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 blah. Obtaining or disclosing protected information, obtaining or disclosing trade secrets. You know, so it's not like the old press now where they were out hunting things that were being hidden so we could see it and it had collapsed the spell. This closes that off. They don't want the spells being collapsed anymore. Involve serious violence against a person in the United Kingdom, endanger the life of a person in the United Kingdom, would create serious risk to health and safety of the public, or a section of the public in the United Kingdom. Aggravating factor of a foreign power condition met. Let's have a look. Aggravating factor where foreign power condition met armed forces. Section 238 of the Armed Forces Act 2006 decided the seriousness of an offence at the end insert. Now this might be interesting data we might need to become aware of as they start using these immigrants. Powers of search and seizure in relation to certain offences under this part of the Act. Acts or threats within section blah blah blah. Disclosure orders, makes provision for disclosure orders, commencement information, blah blah blah. Not enforced at royal assent, customer information orders. Commencement information, account monitoring orders, makes provision for account monitoring orders, that's you. Bank accounts, commencement information. I think I need to get FOI on all the data on my MR5 file, to be honest. Let's see what they've been fucking about with. Commencement information, blah blah blah. Arrest without warrant. A constable may arrest without a warrant anyone who the constable reasonably suspects is or has been involved in foreign power threat activity. Again, there's your key word. Schedule 6 makes provision about the detention under this section. Subject to subject, blah blah blah. Detained detention must be released unless detained on any power no later than the end of 48 hours, beginning with the time of the person's arrest, or if the person was being detained under a provision listed in some blah 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 blah. Provisions are Section 24 Police and Criminal Evidence Act, Article 26 Police and Criminal Evidence Act Northern Ireland, blah blah blah. Terrorism Act. Blah, 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 blah. You don't want to ever get bagged under that label. You don't have any rights. I read that when I was in a cell. Use of reasonable force. A power conferred on the constable by virtue of this part is additional to powers which the constable has, so they're additional, at common law or by virtue of any other enactment. You can't add to the common law unless it's put to the people, so that's interesting. Common law by virtue of any other enactment and is not to be taken as affecting those powers. Okay. A constable may use reasonable force for the purpose of exercising power conferred on a constable by virtue of this part. Border security, can you see how they've been... Oh, we got drug dealers all flying over from Lancashire to Yorkshire. Yeah, they've got fucking borders. That's where your checkpoints are going to be, and this is where your immigrants are going to come into play. And I was papping on about that 15 years ago all over every single newspaper you can imagine, and nobody gave a shit because they were too busy watching Curry and watching Pornhub. Serious Crime Act, extraterritorial offences. It's defence for the purpose to show that the act was necessary for the proper exercise of a function of intelligence service or the proper exercise of a function of the armed forces relating to intelligence. Armed Forces means His Majesty's Forces within the meaning of the Armed Forces Act. Now we need to understand, is it His Majesty employing these immigrants? Because then he's liable. GCHQ, civilian subject to service discipline, same meaning as the Armed Forces Act 2006. Security, blah 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 blah. GCHQ, foreign power condition. Let's have a look. It's just, but I think giving you the way you to apply yourself to this will give you all the answers you need if you to pursue it yourself. But it's serious, folks. I mean, because this is the game under no hide. These are all the games they're giving themselves for this no hide system, which has now over 600 sub-laws to the 7. And they're not called laws now, they're calling them commandments. Remember this. So I think that might be everything that I can't remember if there's anything else that I highlighted. I think that's it, but we want to go back because I've lost something here about the covenant. It's the covenant that's important, because what we're actually looking at here is the UK is in covenant with the Inner Temple, which is an unincorporated private society. Yeah? It's a private society, people. You know what I'm saying? And that is the covenant. that the UK as a whole is involved in. And now we understand that what it is that the Inner Temple wants is the no-hide system. So let's get away from the pretense that it's Jews that are at the top of it. No, they're just playing a part in it because they're financially savvy. The sword side of it is our militaries and Islam. Now also, what they're doing is changing the fiduciary duties of investment intermediaries, specifically related to pensions. And basically and this is Law Commission, how we consult. Law Commission set up by Section 1 of the Law Commission Act 1965 for the purpose of promoting a reform of law. The Law Commissioners are Right Honourable Lord Justice Lloyd Jones, Chairman Professor Elizabeth Cook, David Herzl and Professor David Ormrod, QC. Chief Executive is Elaine Lorimer. David Ormrod, who was that guy that did that book? I can't remember. Francis Patterson, David Ormrod, I'll remember if that's it. Commissioner of Public Law, left commission at the end of September 2009, blah, 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 blah. So this was done, I think, 2014. But what they're actually doing with this, and did, because the government pretty much picked this up and took it on, they've changed everything in relation to the meanings of fiduciary duty, who invests in UK equities, the role of pension funds, other trusts, long-term trends in equity markets, previous Law Commission reports, structure of this consultation base, thanks and acknowledgements. Now I've remembered. And stewardship, another term you need to learn, that you're going to have to learn and understand. Same with custodian. If you're moving to put this SQV trust to bed, or not to bed, but to have it acting as your commercial entity in commerce. So there's just a couple of parts of this I wanted to look. But they change it. Basically, what they've instructed is that the trustees no longer have to take into consideration the will of the beneficiaries. Now that's terrifying, and it's the reason why your money, your pensions are worthless. The meanings of fiduciary duties. The government acknowledged in its response to the Care Review, the term fiduciary duty is used in different ways by different people. First, the term is often used by pension trustees to emphasise their ethos, which is to act in the interests of the beneficiaries. Many trustees were aware of their status as fiduciaries, which resonates with the sense of altruism. Trustees contrasted their special status as fiduciaries with the focus of others in the investment chain on money making. The association between fiduciary duty and altruism has given the term some rhetorical power. The rhetoric has been used to visualise an alternative approach to financial markets, which is less driven by financial gain and more attuned to the needs of investors. Who invests in UK equities? Now, this is the bit that you need to start to get in your minds, because this is what's happened. And why England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and you, the people, are getting fucked over left, right and centre. It's why these skyscrapers are coming up all over our cities, none of which are funded by any British Isle native organisations. They're all foreign powers. Who invests in UK equities? If we were to evaluate how well the law meets the needs of end investors, our first task is to establish who those end investors are. This is not an easy question to answer. In Chapter 3 we describe the current system of holding shares through tiers of intermediaries, which make it difficult to know where the final interest lies. The Office for National Statistics provides data on the ownership of UK shares, which is set out in the following graph. This is data of obviously limitations. Most of the owners listed are not end beneficiaries but financial institutions. So this is who buys, who invests, and basically who owns the equities that are included in the United Kingdom, the British Empire, the Crown, the Inner Temple, the Temple Crown, not the puppet monarch who's operating for that, as did his mother. Now this figure is ownership of UK quoted shares by sector of beneficial ownership, 1963 to 2012. Now the important part is this: individuals You've got insurance companies, pension funds and investment trusts. The rest of the world is in dark blue. So that's how it used to be. Individuals, i.e. us. Yep. And look at this bag of shit. So from 63, that's how it used to be. And then they started adding all these other shenanigans. So you get to 2012, and look what's took it over, all on its own. Rest of the fucking world. You want to know what's going on in Blighty? The rest of the fucking world owns it. That's your Arabs, it's your Russians, it's your Israelis, it's your Chinese, it's your Indians, it's your Americans, it's your French. And any Johnny come lately going. So when in the protocols they say that they're going to use England as a sacrifice, that's what's happened. England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have been owned and bought by the rest of the world. There you go. Look at that gap. It's huge. That's what's happened, people. And that source of national statistics, blah, 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 2012, 25th September 2013. Although the ONS data has been criticised, the picture emerges from it since the mid-1990s, insurance companies and pension funds have been moving out of UK equities. Mid-1990s, people. New Labour, Keir Starmer, Gordon Brown, Tony Blair, and every shitbag that were a member of Labour that's still a member of Labour today. So that's the other tit, what's he called? The one that's obsessed with the UN, Corbyn. Yeah, everybody at the moment's obsessed and completely brainwashed and thinking it's all the fault of the Tories. This happened mid-1990s. Who came in 97? The Cheshire Cat. Okay, and into overseas markets. So they moved out of equities and into overseas markets and safer asset classes, such as bonds. Meanwhile, in an increasingly globalised world, the UK market has seen a substantial increase in overseas ownership. Yeah, UK market. Okay, in which your SQV Trust is. In this evidence before the BIS Select Committee, Professor Kay commented and that although the picture is more complicated than the ONS statistics suggest, he said the basic element in this is that there are more foreign beneficial holders of UK equities and there are more foreign-based asset managers in the market than there were 20 years ago. There is also an element of sovereign wealth fund involvement in this, of which Norway and Singapore are the largest. Norway. What the fuck's going on with Norway? Okay. Now Singapore, in my opinion, where they've got the 3 city-states, is one of the city-states that they're moving to when they move it east. Yep. Singapore. So did you understand that? We are owned by foreign. Your equity, SQV Trust and the estate upon which it's built, if you don't claim it back, is owned right now by foreigners. Well, it's in their interest to kill the creditor before we find out, is it not? So who's pushing these wars? So, okay, Vlad the Impaler might want to snot all the UK, maybe, but he's not really seeing the game, is it? Because he's part of the game. It's not his job to see the game, it's his job to play the game. It's not us doing it. It's not us. It's every 2-bit hoity-toity that pushed into Zionism since it's began, which were force prompted with the Civil War through the Puritans and creating the Commonwealth. You see, that's another thing. This covenant with the Crown. Now, let's have a look what's also in the Crown. The UN, Bilderberg Group, Club of Rome, Royal Institute for International Affairs, Council on Foreign Relations. Yeah? The other one, I can't remember what it's called. This is the covenant. So those are satellites, round table. So the round table's a inner temple crown gig. And everybody's in covenant with it. But more importantly, Cromwell set up the Commonwealths of Parliaments. Remember? So that's how long it's been going on. And it's the commonwealths that are in a covenant with the crown. Not the monarch crown, the Innu temple crown. So what's going on in Australia is the is the crown trying to grab political power, change constitution. This, or the last act we've just looked at, is that one of the very same going on here. America will have one, Canada, Australia, and every nation that's tied into the UN. Because if you're tied into the UN, you're in covenant with the temple crown. Everybody from all these global systems, you're actually ultimately in a covenant, an agreement with the Templars temple and the inner city of London. Can you dig that, people? I mean, it's just ridiculous. I'll put both these up as links to on my website so you can have a look at them. We'll just have a look at trustees' powers and duties. This was a joint report with the Scottish Law Commission. We reviewed the law governing trustees' power to invest trust funds, where there were no express powers in the will or trust instrument. We also considered a wide range of other powers, including trustees' power to delegate, to insure, to use nominees and custodians. Okay, important word. And to remunerate professional trustees. We published a consultation paper in 1997. Tony Brown came in, remember? And a joint report in 1999, which led to the enactment of the Trustee Act 2000 for England and Wales, and Part 3 of the Charities and Trustee Investment Scotland Act 2005. Trustee exemption clauses. This considered the extent to which in England and Wales trustees should be permitted to exclude or restrict liability for breach of trust, either by expressly excluding liability or by modifying the trustees' powers and duties. We published a consultation paper in 2003 and a report in 2006. So, can you see now, with the messing about they do with beneficiaries, it's important that you're a settler and beneficiary. Because the trustees, which is what you need the state to be, down the line are going to be basically do not have to consider what the beneficiary wants. Okay? Intermediate securities. This project considered the legal implications of the transition from paper-based share certificates to electronic entries in intermediaries' accounts. From 2006 to 2008, the Law Commission analysed successive drafts of the Unidroit Convention on Law of the Intermediate Securities. We advised the UK government to sign and ratify the convention to bring legal clarity to this area of law at an international level. So, Unidroit. Yep, so we can come out of there now. I'll bang that up. Check us out of there. And just let me search in here. Yep, there we go, because I have got a report about it. Interpol, Rome controls the new order, Unidroit, the legal deception. I'll put that up as well for you to have a look at. Interpol, ICOM, United Nations, Educational, Scientific, yeah. World Customs Organisation, yeah. Yeah, signed in. All these countries are signed in. Yep. They're all in. So there you go, folks. This is what's going on. And that is not only a terrifying document because of the power they're going to take to themselves, and you're going to consent to it because you haven't got a fucking clue. Is that important that you get it in your minds right now and get ready for them and looking for the remedies within it so that you've got it bagged in your toolbox because it's going to bite. This is going to bite on everything. They can just, it's treason, whatever, not to country, to the UK convention that the entire global system is in covenant with. And of course the inner city of London is a instrument of the Holy See families. They're the ones that give the sovereign statehood. and it comes via the Vatican. So the Vatican isn't the be-all and end-all of this. It's the Holy See and the families that run it. And as John Coleman says, there's families out there who are just way beyond people's comprehension into the wealth who've clubbed together and run the Fondi, which is the conjoined wealth of thousands of year old wealth gathering through these bloodline families, pulled together in order to pull this together. So let's have a look at what you're going to say about this diatribe that we've all just witnessed. Let's have a look. Charles is... Yep. We're all coerced to be in person. So now you know that, don't be. Work out how you don't be coerced. That's the gig. Under Zog says, Holy Spoke. Solve Mrs. Okay, we're on that, still on there. Chris Steiger reminds us of the sausage fingers. Cos gives us the fist. Oh, that's an odd... what's it called? I don't know what that is. Another thumbs up. Thanks, Cos. Holy Spokes, 5A persons will be microwaved for wrong think. Well, I have a funny feeling that gig's going to be the disco with lights and music for the ones that jumped on the book script. But we'll have to wait and see. We don't know. It's all could be, might be, we don't know. We continue to investigate. Where are we? Off to the old gap to your show, my old mate says LL. You're welcome, sir. Louise says, foreign interference is the square mile of London. Yeah, but you're in its gig, so it's not now. Holy Spoke, squares and compass mile. English Bill of Rights, the British hasn't got one. No, there's no Bill of any rights for it. It's a covenant that only they know, because it's a law society. Remember that the temple is an unincorporated private society. Yeah? It's why police are private companies. Everything's private companies, trusts. Thatcher. And I voted for the cow. For my sins. Well, because I didn't know my ass from my elbow, really. When my first vote, I'm like, oh, listen to my granddad, and listen to my mum and dad, and blah, 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 blah. And then she announced Channel 2, and I've never voted since. And that's it. Because that's when that was my first ever event that made me think, what? That's not what? That's not good. What's going on? It was still a lot of years after that before I actually did start to get a grip, but that was my first point where I just looked and thought, what? June says, don't worry, Sean, Keir Starmer has been chosen and we think we have a choice. Well, I'm not so sure Keir Starmer's going to be the one that gets in. I think all of a sudden they're going to bring in somebody like evil, like Tony Blair or Tony Mandelson, or somebody ridiculously evil, even Gordon Brown. And I don't think Keir's going to get in. I think he's just there as a lame duck. And at last minute they're going to bring in some hoity-toity freak fuckface that they're all going to back. Because if Corbyn backs it, but remember Corbyn, I used to watch him. He rebutted anything that wasn't United Nations in every single questions in Parliament. Every single one. Every time. He's nothing but UN. Nothing. So he's no more on your side than any of them. You know, Brand, all these lame ducks, Tate, all these tits, they're not your friends. They're shills. Let's have a look. Legalese, there's nothing easy about it. No, it's not easy, but start from the beginning and make sure you've got all the tools and you're in business. I am going to do something as far as teaching this, but I can't do it online, unfortunately. Well, not yet anyway, but I don't know. I don't want to jeopardise my own game at all, but, you know what I mean? I've got to be careful. And I'm only learning it, so I don't want to dish out stuff that might send you on a jolly path to nowhere. Untitled says custodian versus custodian, different meaning. Again, so what he's telling you there is, in the use of the capitalised first letter, is different from a word used without, which I don't sign off capitalised. It's decapitating your standing. So that's worth coming to understand as well. So I say go back to the beginning. That's definitely something you want to grasp. The lingo, how to use it. Because you want checkmate. You don't want to give them any room to budge. Michael Jr. says, what do you mean, Sean, about fiduciary change of responsibility? So, when you're on as a fiduciary, you have an obligation. Then, whatever you do has to benefit the beneficiary. It cannot do harm to the trust or the beneficiary. Okay? So, because they automatically are civil servants, they're automatically, when you're working for you in a fiduciary capacity, once you've established yourself as beneficial interest, they have to operate whatever. So if they brought a claim to you and all of a sudden they realise, so let's say prosecution brings a claim, you go to court, you bring it across to your beneficial side, then the prosecutor has to pay because he's the one that brought the claim. And whoever, the judge would be in a fiduciary role to actually achieve something in that. So fiduciary means that they're obligated to make sure that it's beneficial to the beneficial side of the system. They're changing that. So the fiduciary roles of a trustee now, if he doesn't have to take into account what the beneficiary says, he's working for himself and he's got all your property on the legal side. So he's actually got control fully of all your property. So it looks like they're changing the game on the beneficiary side so that they can just nick it anyway. Because they will. To do this solid, they'll have to go through every single part of it so that it all transfers into this new system. We're running out of time. Things can only get better. Of course they can. We're waking up. We're waking up, we're getting on, we're acting. We didn't take the thing. We don't believe the media. We don't believe the politicians or any Tom, Dick and Harry that talks out their ass. We're on to a winner in the fact that we're not being screwed by it, so we're focused, we can see. So this is a perfect time to get stuck in because you're going to be focused. There's now like a lion on your ass to focus the mind. Solomon says, distinction between fiduciary powers of care and non-fiduciary duties. There are signs that the approach in Australia may ultimately change. Yeah, that's quite right. There is a difference between powers of care and... yes, absolutely. I mean, what's going on in Australia, pretty much what I'm seeing is what's going on. It's just that they're trying their best to grab the ultimate power for a parliament, which is for a political class, and that is to be able to change the constitution. And the hapless originals, the natives, have no idea, but they're waking the fuck up. Rapid. So that video is essential that you watch it, so I will put that up. Louise says it's all treason. No, it's not. You're in consent, Chuck. Everybody's consenting to move off the nation. Great info, says into our title. Thanks for that, my good man. Holy spokes, it's a shit show. It certainly is. It appears to me that the National Security Act, which makes constant reference to acting for foreign powers, could be used directly against those who created it, acting for who... Exactly. That's what I was trying to get across. They've set it up so they can throw you all over. There's remedy within it. And if you get the reversion side of it, then you're holding them to that because that's what they're signed into. Everything is double-edged, but the important side of it, I wanted you to get across that on the fact that they're using the term foreign, the SQV Trust is a foreign entity, which is why it's taxed. Only foreigners are taxed on foreign trade on England. Nothing else. The English aren't, just foreigners. They've put us all into a position of being a foreigner on the SQV. So basically, maybe watch it again because I'm quite happy with the way I explained it. But it gives them carte blanche to just attack everybody the minute you walk in there on the SQV. So today we know we're not being heard. Tomorrow, they'll probably whisk you up and bum you before you even get through the door. It's that much of an advance in their abilities. Unreal. So yeah, it could be, yeah, exactly. You can turn it on them because they're signed into this covenant. We're not, but we are through the trust. Through receiving benefits, i.e. universal credit and shit like that. You're in, you're on, you can't refute it, can you? Now, no knowledge of is the important part for this next venture as we move forward in this nonsense. But they want you to focus out there to all the malarkey. Oh, I'll tell you what I haven't done. Let me tell you what I haven't done. And I must do it, because it's important. The emissions of the fancy pants show that shit's going on all over. These are the emissions that you need to be aware of if you want to understand what's going on with this shenanigans. There you've got it. Telegram channels linked to Hamas released video thanking Ukraine for the weapons currently being used in the conflict. So through the Ukraine, they've armed all these people, Hamas, Hezbollah, etc. It's one big game. Now, this was put up by Dr. Shiva Ayadinadi. He says, POS Netanyahu is a real terrorist. He's been indicted on corruption charges and needed a big distraction. While I'll agree with that in part, it's a much bigger gig. This is the second dose. Now, there's up to 50 of the Israelis that were said were been taken hostage have been freed. And that according to Israel Defence Forces spokesman, and that was this morning. So, you know what I mean? 50 of them at least have actually been released. Now, Egyptian negotiations notified Israel that in the event of a ground operation in the Gaza Strip, Lebanese Hezbollah would enter the war. So that's Hezbollah, that's Hamas. Again, it's Iran. Yeah? But these operations are all funded via Israel, via the CIA. Israeli forces kept... Now, this is what happened just before the rockets. All you'll get on media is the attack them with rockets. But just before that, the Israeli forces carried out a violent raid on the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is what I've said all along is going to be the fire starter. And the second dose release and the removal of... Also, Biden released $6 billion to Iran, which were locked up in sanctions before this, which obviously has been the method to financially support Hamas in this gig. But that were on the back. All those rockets are over, and I'm not condoning or in any way, shape or form. It is as it is over there because that's how it is. And me crying about it, backing one side against another, is just pointless. But it's been a set piece. Biden released $6 billion to Iran that were all up in sanctions. A massive thank you Ukraine for the weapons, and Hezbollah are getting involved now as well. But before the rockets were launched, Israel attacked the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And that's why they're all going insane and having a bit of a fit. Which... There we go. So if you're going off to die for that, lads, you're not right bright because you've chosen to protect all that shite that private society called the Temple Crown instead of your wife, your offspring, your grandma, your granddad, your dog, your cat, your ferret, your lizard, whatever else you've got going in there. That's your choice, boys. It might be on forefront of your mind, but that's the choice you're making. And all this smoke says through Habad Lubavitch. Exactly. We're on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's enough diatribe for one Sunday evening, so I'll let you be. And hope that's given you something to chew on, because it's exceptionally important in my opinion. And right now, it's probably a game you need to put yourself into so that you're fully aware of it. But listen back to this video, because I'm quite happy with how I've presented it to you, so I'll give you a lot of pointers in there of how it can be used. But more importantly, it's important you know how they're going to use it if they get their way. So ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining, thanks for taking part. And all I have to say is, till the next time.